So we're here with two lovely ladies today, with Monica Altamirano from Water Equity and with Lesley Pories from Global Water Partnership. What are you doing at COP27 and what are you all about?
Yeah, thanks. I manage a program for GWP called Global Water Leadership, which is really striving to bring together leaders from the water and sanitation space as well as the water resource management space in 7 different countries to really come up with solutions that are actually addressing climate change. And so this is a great venue for us to learn and then also to bring more people into the conversation.
I am co-leading with Anon a process and an action towards the UN Water Conference 2023 called Rethinking Collective Action and Investment Planning for a Water Secure World. And also our intention to be here and have a meeting was to engage with other communities, right? Really have the climate community, which involve energy and all other sectors, in thinking where are the bottlenecks for concerted action for more effective use of public funds. And I think we believe that there are like maybe 3 important things there. And one is to have our investment planning much more mission-driven, and that might require like a multi-sectoral perspective. The other is to have a clear discussion of how we can allocate public and private sector roles, like demystifying private sector participation and creating safe spaces for people to say, collectively we want to achieve this, but there are also things I need to achieve for me, and that to be open. And maybe the last, which is also actually quite important, is this idea of the use of blended finance, right? So that's what we are doing here, and great to meet you. Thank you for the interview.
Not over. Those are all great signposts in a way, but how do you actually get that from a conversation at COP into practice then?
Oof. I think that's what we're figuring out. This is one of the first times that today is Water Day, right? Which is super exciting because water has not been elevated in the climate conversation at this level before. So this is really historic. So it's very important for us actually to be here and be a part of it. But this is also really for us as a water community trying to figure that out genuinely. Like, who do we need to talk to? How do we talk about water in a way that the climate sector can understand and that can really resonate with them? I think Monica and I were just talking earlier about how sometimes the water sector gets very passionate and just thinks that because we're water and it's so critically important, everyone else should fall in line.
Yeah, and so I think also for us it's so important to understand, take the time to listen and to understand the other sectors.
Absolutely.
And to actually, with them, kind of make water visible, right? So it's more like seeing their perspective and then see, oh, here is a point. Like, for example, this week, I was very surprised to not see any water persons when they launched the Coalition for Climate Resilient Investments. They launched the Systemic Resilience standard or process, because it's like, yeah, we keep saying that water is so important for systemic resilience, yet we were not there engaged. No, I went, but so part of the thing was being to actually work with other actors, listen to them, listen to the conversations, and then we will go into that rethinking mode. And maybe the other point is just it's really about taking I don't know, it's like the attitude, like really be humble to know that our issue is important, but the other issues are also, and how do we make that space, no?
So you're trying to build a lot of bridges as well.
Yeah, that's definitely, yes. And
Absolutely.
in fact, so I didn't mention it in the beginning, but we're working with the Global Water Partnership and with many others on this. Rethinking is also like, you have to be humble about the mistakes made in the past. And I think another thing that is coming out of the COP, which is very interesting for water and the idea of the value of water, is our economies. Like, they might have to change quite a lot, like the economic logic. And if we are smart enough as water community there, I think we could have a great point, like somebody in the session from biodiversity say, you have water, which is, people see it running through the biodiversity, through the economic activities, but they were surprised that other communities have been able to advance much faster on getting collective action. So I think it's a call for action for us. to.
Yeah, water is a great story, but it's often hidden behind a lot of other things like agriculture or energy or in any sector.
Well,
right?
hidden behind it, and hidden behind it to a degree that it's almost not really discussed, right? So like actually when I entered the pavilion today, the first session that I went into was actually was in the food systems pavilion, right? And actually hearing them talk about how water management fits into food security conversations, right? Because yeah, you need water for irrigation, but if you're not managing your water properly and we're not thinking about water differently and managing it differently as it becomes increasingly scarce, then what will happen, right? But it's the first time, or maybe not the first, but you know, that it's not a normal coupling, right? And that's what we need to normalize, and we need to do more of this and thinking different. How do we draw each other into each other in the context of COP? Draw each other into each other's pavilions. How do we have more integrated conversations, which will, you know, now that we start talking to these people here, then that opens up the door for us to go home and start thinking, you know, more deeply and more collaboratively. I'm hopeful, anyway.
Great. No, thanks. This was some great reflections, and all the best at COP for doing what you need to do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.